Got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning this Wednesday in the middle of April. Joining me is an amazing panel. With me is Culture Casino. How's it going?
Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Let's get into it. We got some fun stuff to talk about and watch people rage about. Good times.
We do indeed. And joining us to talk about that is the Canadian contingent, 2 parts of it, actually. First up, Mr. Paul Chato. How's it going?
Good. It's really fun. I had my birthday yesterday, and my wife gave me a phenomenal present. I turned 90. So.
Belated happy birthday. By a
Thank you.
funny coincidence, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Wait a
Really?
minute. You turned 90?
Yeah, I tell people 90 because they all go, "Wow, you look great."
Oh, okay.
Most people want to go lower, and I go, "No, you go up," and then have them go, "You look fabulous. You look like a Norwegian."
So I'm
who's in shape.
Wow.
Well, in Canada, we had that ad, participation ad a long time ago, whereas, did you know that a 60-year-old Swede was in better shape than a 30-year-old Canadian? I don't know if you got those in the States.
I remember those.
I'm sure they'd be
a good motivator.
Yeah, it was a motivator. You went,
but we have
Swedes.
more from the Canadian contingent, namely Script Doctor, who has been quite busy as of late. So we're glad to see you have time to join us little people again.
Oh God, I'm not bigger than you guys. You guys are bigger than me. I'm just happy.
No. You just go, yeah, baby. You go for it.
I can't do that.
No, you have to. You're in showbiz.
I'm always happy to be able to chat with you all and participate when it's available. But yes, I'm happy to be here. How's it going?
And who's the new guy below me here?
Yes, I was about to say. And finally, rounding out the panel, at least for the moment, is Mr. Chris Grayley of Bleeding Fool fame. Welcome back to Midnight's Edge.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Glad to be here. Not quite 80 or 90 years old yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah,
happy birthday early and belated as well, too. I think that's in order.
It's okay.
Yeah, time comes for us all. For those wondering, Tom had another engagement, but he should be back as soon as he is back from that engagement. He should be here. So yeah, then we are most of who we are expecting, at least for the time being. And with that, let's do a couple of these super chats here. Chaos Sonic 1 says for $2, Paul, happy birthday.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you won't get my wife gifted me. We have the Hamilton Airplane War Museum here that's got all sorts of Lancasters and World War I biplanes and things like that, and she got me an hour, I think, in a biplane, a World War biplane, open cockpit flight. Just to that I'm really looking forward to that.
She just keep
Wow.
putting you into dangerous vehicles. Didn't she give
Yes.
you like a race car seating next to a
Yes.
race car driver?
Yes, she put me in a NASCAR race car at the Richard Petty track, and I was whipping around there at 200 miles per hour. That was
I
scary
think
as
she's trying to
shit.
get rid of you.
I think so. I think so.
Wear ear protection.
I'm sure they'll make me do it. I'm going to be in the gunner position. So,
Well, either that, or she's trying to make sure that your heart gets like these constant little shocks, so you build up immunity for later on.
Yes,
So, yeah.
it's because she loves me. Well, it's
Yeah.
such a unique present. So
We'll
thank you.
go with that. We'll go with that. And Packing Protons said for $20, we do classic game playthroughs on my channel and have been trying to build up an audience for it if you get tired of AAA stuff. Right now, trying to do a 100% on Mario U Deluxe with Trick Jump Challenge. Yeah, well, there you go.
Wow.
Please go there and support Packing Protons.
Yeah, indeed. And with that, let us get into the main topics at hand here, because we only have some panelists for a relative limited amount of time. And the first order of the day is something that we already spoke about. Yes, not yesterday, but on Monday, namely Warhammer 40k, who have recently made some changes to their own canon, making female, not guardians, but I forgot the term.
Custodes.
Custodians, thank you. Making female custodians, which was never a thing before, while pretending that, oh yeah, it was always a thing, you're just imagining it. And their fans aren't having it. So now the Warhammer 40k fans are starting to walk away. And this is just as the Warhammer 40k brand was really in the process of taking off. So have they gone broke before they even made it, which they were on the trajectory to do? Chris, what's your take on all of this?
I think it's not so much that they made some changes to the lore, which is going to upset longtime fans. It always will. But I think where they made their mistake was when they lied in a response to the fans. So they said there have always been female custodians, which anyone who's read the Codex and anyone who's been part of this community for a long time realizes is just a bald-faced lie. And so now that more and more people in the pop culture communities and gaming communities are aware of ESG and DEI protocols, everyone's just immediately blaming it on that and calling them liars and telling them that you're sacrificing your longtime players and fans for ESG money, and they're going to take their 3D printers and go home.
Yeah, indeed. That's kind of the risk here. Mr.
I think it's
Chato.
good. I think it's a good thing, though, right? Because it used to be that someone like a Warhammer, maybe it might be TSR with a Dungeons and Dragons change or something, anything. They could change something about the lore, and then the fans would pile on to anyone who complains or even notices that there's been a change. But in this instance, it's so egregious. Again, not necessarily that they've made female custodians, but that they tried to lie about it, that they had always been there. And I think now that, particularly because of shows like Midnight's Edge, for one, that gets all this stuff out there and exposes some of these shenanigans, you've got a big viewer base, you got more and more people that are informed, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Exactly. Paul, any thoughts on this?
I think I revealed in the last show that I knew nothing about Warhammer until Henry Cavill got involved. I mean, I was a StarCraft and World of Warcraft player, and then subsequently told that that was all ripped off from 40k. So I had no idea. Now that being said, we do know you cannot apologize to the left enough. You could get down on your knees. You can give them a blowjob. There's just, once the apology starts, there's no end. Like, they will never accept it. And so I think this retconning is due to the fact that they don't want an apology trail. They don't want to get on that trail. They're afraid of that. That's my theory.
Well, let's see how that strategy works out for them.
Yeah, it's a bold one.
I was suggesting that they make Dylan Mulvaney one of the female custodians.
I was suggesting yesterday that they might be the new Budweiser.
Well, that's their, what are we calling it, Andre? Heinerscheiding a business?
Yeah, they are Heinerscheiding themselves, absolutely. So yeah, now all they now need is for a couple of the custodians to be trans custodians, to be truly inclusive. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be
but it's such a huge community. I'm not entirely certain there's going to be any traction to this. Am I wrong?
I think the people are going to be frustrated that they're changing the lore retroactively. I mean, that's where the backlash is coming from. It's coming from the people who actually play the game.
Who are passionate about it.
Yeah, and this is another problem with when they go about doing these things. People lose faith in them overall, and that hurts them brand wise.
They're so huge.
And well, yeah, I mean, and so when you have vocal fans coming out against your social media post, and now you have people that are really I mean, I spent, of today's 6-minute daily, which went for 50 minutes, by the way, the majority of the time was spent talking about this Games Workshop disaster, this Warhammer disaster. Well, and it's hurting them. It's hurting them in the market. It's gonna really hurt them in the market coming up, because I think they got kicked in the butt for $2 yesterday. That it trended down right at the end of the day. It dropped. It went from $1 down to another $1.20 down.
It all revolves around the influencers. So
yeah.
I can't speak to this, but I do know back in the days when Microsoft was just a meager company with an operating system, where Ashton Tate and WordPerfect and DBase and Lotus 1-2-3 were huge, giant companies that overshadowed Microsoft. Microsoft actually hired me to go into every month there would be some kind of computer club. There were clubs all over the GTA, and I would spread the Microsoft word to the influencers, the nerds that would then tell their bosses about these great products, Excel and all that stuff that they were trying to break this software in. And that was the way you sold software back in the day, back in the 80s. You went to the influencers. So we all know the power that influencers have. So that could be a shocking blow if the core, the nerd core, starts imploding.
Indeed. Script Doctor, do you think that the nerd core is going to react faster here than they did in Hollywood? And I know Hollywood is feeling the pinch right now. Could the people behind Warhammer feel it all the faster? Could this have any repercussions on the Amazon series?
Well, it's definitely going to affect the Amazon series. That's their core audience. Like, they need them in order to be successful. And even though, as big as that core audience is, Warhammer 40k is not mainstream. Like, the first time I heard about it was when I started YouTubing. And the worst part about it is the fact all the fans that love it, and rightfully so, are terrible at pitching it to sell it to other people. So you need people in Hollywood in order to move that. And if you aren't able to, and if you have this divisive aspect with Games Workshop kind of retconning part of their history, then you're feeding into the very people you don't want trying to push your show in Hollywood, because they're going to go with that angle of it, which means you're going to further divide your potential audience. Some that'll be fine with the retcon, and many that will not. And so now you're preaching to the smallest choir within your base, and hoping that you're going to get a big return. And unless you have a really, really good show that knocks it out of the park, which Amazon is back and forth on quite frequently with their IPs, you're not going to see success. And it doesn't matter how much Henry Cavill loves it. He has still not been proven to be a box office draw yet. And he's been in a few things in the past few years that have not done as well as you'd expect the fervor of fans he's had to have performed. So yeah, I think it's a silly thing for them to try and say, oh yeah, we're retconning it, as opposed to we actually see more potential with making female custodians in this franchise now, and we are looking forward to seeing how you guys can take it in your role and your tabletop games, and just offering them a new option as opposed to saying no, it was always here. I mean, that's just foolish.
I mean, that would make the most sense.
That would have made perfect sense, and then they could have gotten away with introducing a little more diversity. It's not as though people with 3D printers couldn't have made female anything they wanted if that's what they wanted to play, right? But again, I think it's their most strident defenders are the fedora neckbeards that are tapping the sign saying everybody needs to go if you don't like women in Warhammer. So
yeah, I mean, as big as Warhammer is, there's nothing saying you couldn't have a shadow society that's been there in the background this entire time, and now we're letting you see what it is, and then this is the rules of that new shadow society. It's the size of a universe. My understanding is that when you try to go to hyperspace, one person goes into hell for the entire duration of the trip and then comes back and something. It's very like the pitches I've gotten have not been good, but they all sound like very weird sci-fi comedies, like dark sci-fi comedies.
So someone has to go to Toledo until everyone is back?
Toledo.
Apparently.
I just lost your entire Toledo contingent, Andre.
Yeah, indeed. And greetings, Tom. And hey, Kitty.
Hello.
Yeah. So, Tom, anything to add to Warcraft and the rising, mounting backlash against it?
I just know kind of like surface level what's going on, and I mean, to tell the audience that they're wrong like that, or to try and gaslight them in some way, is just ridiculous. I mean, it'd be like, S is, when we first started to watch Star Trek Discovery, it'd been like if we said something about the spore mushroom drive thing, and they're like, well, it's always been a part of Star Trek. It's like, where? When? Please point us out to us, because we'd love to see. And it's maybe some very strange, like, comic book somewhere that nobody read or something like that. But yeah, like, no, in this case, it sounds like they're really trying to rewrite history a little bit and gaslight the fans. So I'm glad that they're not allowing that. So if I was a fan, I'd be the same way.
Yeah, indeed. And Chris most helpfully found the message from Warhammer to the gamers. And I just want to show it on screen and read it aloud for everyone.
Oh, no, they didn't do that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no,
they did.
Warhammer's for everyone. No.
Yes,
oh, God.
exactly.
That is the worst line.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
They really just
said,
we'll take anyone that's interested. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Actually, haven't they already said everyone except for you? I mean, that's kind of what I'm gathering.
That's
here.
true. That is true. Whenever someone says something or other is for everyone, then the implied part is it's for everyone else but you, the core audience. It is for those who do not care. It is for those who are not part of it now, but who we are trying to get into it. That's who it's for, exactly as the illustration you see right here on screen.
I think the first time I heard whatever the variant was, I think was Sweet Baby Inc., where they had gaming is for everyone. And then I posted on Twitter, no, gaming isn't for everyone. It's for people who's interested in gaming. Like, that's it. I mean, it's not hard. So Warhammer is not for everyone. It's
no, it's
who are
true.
Interested in Warhammer. That's it. That's
it's for people who are into role-playing games and miniatures. That is the prerequisite. If you're not into that, Warhammer isn't for you. It is as simple as that. But they don't.
And this is very disingenuous.
Yeah, let's read this for those who are just listening. The reason Chato reacted the way that he did is because it says here in this official statement, big capital letters, Warhammer is for everyone. And then the main body reads, one of the great powers of our hobby is its ability to bring people together in common cause. Yeah, like every other hobby. To build bonds and friendships that cross divides. Again, like every other hobby. We believe in and support a community united by shared values of mutual kindness and
Oh,
respect.
fucking hell.
Yeah, okay, so this is clearly written by AI and could be taken by literally any other statement written by Heinrich. Our fantasy, okay, here we get into it. Our fantasy settings are grim and dark, but that is not a reflection of who we are or how we feel the real world should be. We will never accept nor condone any form of prejudice, hatred, or abuse in our company or in the Warhammer hobby. Lest it's against whiteys, in which case it's perfectly okay. It's the implied part of that. We will continue to diversify the cast of characters we portray through miniatures, art, and storytelling, so everyone can find representations and heroes they can relate to, especially the people who aren't playing the game. I only added that, but it might as well have been there. And if you feel the same way, wherever and whoever you are, we're glad you're part of the Warhammer community. If not, you will not be missed.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's, my friends, that is how you Heinrich a brand. I mean, they don't need Dylan Mulvaney to come in and be one of the custodians, not with a statement like this, basically telling all of the fans to get bent and F off. That's what they're saying here. If you do not agree with our messaging and our wokeness and our diversifying of your hobby, then get bent, get lost. You will not be missed.
Wow.
That's what they're saying.
What
here.
a stupid thing to write.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
You know, and what's funny with all of these things.
Cotton.
Yeah.
What's funny with all of these things, whenever I sit down to write something creative, this is actually how I start. I don't work. I don't start with the idea or the thing that might be interesting. I start with this because to me, this is the most important part of anything that I do creatively.
And being inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing I write. Yeah. Chris,
I think they should have some trigger warnings on the game, you know, for potentially grim and dark things that might upset people.
Wow, that's
right.
Next.
That's next. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is just hilariously bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the first paragraph is a result of how good the game is. It's not what makes the game good. It's that's the bullshit of this document.
Well, it's just so saccharine, you know, it's just so, I don't know, workshopped, like they all sat around and just said how inclusive and soft bellied and soy can we make this a community?
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Go on.
It's not even that. It's copied and pasted from all of the 100 other similar statements, which I agree completely are soft-bellied and commie and everything like that. But they've already done that work. They've already perfected.
Well, you're right.
Formula.
You even commented that it was written by AI, and that's
might
probably
as well have been
accurate.
But real, I don't think it's necessary. You can just do a copy and paste.
Sure. The point is,
honestly,
you can't write this manifesto unless you already have a successful working IP.
Right.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
And the joke is that such a manifesto is how you go from having a successful working IP to not having a successful working IP.
Oh, this is terrible. If you don't agree with it, if not, you will not be missed. I mean, in between all the gobbledygook and nonsense in this, they could have left out that last one. Someone was really mad. Someone's got their knickers in a knot, and they just had to put that last line in. Completely unnecessary.
Yeah. You know what I think they could have left out? To begin with, I think they could have left out the title. Warhammer is for everyone, just to begin with.
Oh, for sure.
Then I think they could have left out this AI copy paste bit. One of the great powers, they could have left that as well. And then they could have left out the virtue signaling coming straight from Camp Heinrichite. This whole chapter about our fantasy settings, leading all the way up to representation and heroes they can relate to. And then finally, they could have left out the bit, if you feel the same way, blah, blah, blah. If not, you won't be missed. And then the final thing there is the letterhead at the very bottom. They could have left that.
Yeah, we'd like to apologize for the way this popular program was originally created.
Yeah, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. It was too toxic, too many white male-centered characters, too much heterodoxy, too much violence, not enough representation. Think about Warhammer is for everyone. You could say Star Wars is for everyone and expect the exact same copy paste.
That already happened the moment the Force went female.
That's right. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy School of Marketing right here.
Indeed. Script. Are you impressed with this statement as a professional writer?
No.
Didn't you write this?
Gosh, no. Way too long for what I would write it. I'd write something very short, which would be like, Warhammer is for anyone who wants to play tabletop games. That's all I say.
Yeah.
They don't even mention that.
No.
That's it. I mean, listen, there's always one aspect that you kind of have to be careful of for PR concerns, and that is if we find people that are using egregious language and racial slurs, we don't think that's appropriate, and we don't believe our fans would do that. So thank you so much, and keep an eye out for harassment, and that's all you got to do, because again, you cannot control what people hear. You can only control what you say, and it's better to err on the side of caution as opposed to say something that can be conflated and saying like we are accusing all of our fans of being horrible. So you got to basically just kind of identify your fans, identify you love them, and then isolate and say people who are using such language, like insulting our creators with racial slurs, is not something we feel is appropriate, and we don't believe our fans would do that. And that's how you go. And then acknowledge valid criticism we will take. Any criticism we will take, but we will not accept that. That's how you separate it. That's how you get your fans on the side of, oh, it's a troll. We're just going to ignore them. But
why put this out at all? Well, I mean, why take
I don't know.
Yeah. I can't, nothing good can come from this.
Well, this was put out because the person who invented the idea of the female custodians and the rollout for it got really hurt feelings.
So is this a press release, Andre?
I got it from Chris behind the scenes here, but it looks awful lot like a press release or an official statement. Something that was put out on Twitter, but it comes in the form of a press release, so call it an official statement.
Yeah, it's an official statement.
And this is reminiscent of this crap that we were seeing around the Summer of Love and all these companies making these broad social justice statements and crap like that. Yeah. And it's just a sign of the fact that this corporation is now owned by an ideological position that's not consistent with Western values or civilization as a whole. So this is another way to play identitarian politics and do it in a public forum. So it's a virtue signal. It's Heinrich-Schneiding yourselves. It's your moment to burst into flame. You have a lot of things that are shifting in the background as far as their financials go, with the parent company and the little company both losing value in the market. Nobody's interested in companies that are doing this anymore. More companies are trying to figure out a way to hide if they're even trying to be involved in this kind of stuff. And for this to come out publicly, especially in the UK, this is a hot mess. I imagine that there will be repercussions for this financially that the investors will not be pleased with.
If I could interrupt real quick, I've just
Go for
been
it.
notified that Warhammer is for Everyone actually came out 4 years ago. That exact message was put out by the
During
makers
the
of the
mostly
game,
peaceful protests.
the Games Workshop. Well, it was because someone had there was a player wearing Nazi attire who entered under the name Austrian Painter in one of the games and made a comment. And so because that came out, it was the club repudiated Nazi mentality in all of its aspects, and there was a whole back and forth, and so they put
How
that
much you want to bet that that guy was a plant, not an actual fan, but
out.
someone who
Perhaps.
was placed in there specifically so that they could virtue signal with one of the WEF talking points. And this or that property is for everyone. The reason that Chato laughed about it is because it's a cliche. We have heard it so much. Why have we heard it so much? Because it's a talking point coming straight from the WEF. That's why. I don't actually believe that there was a Warhammer fan who dressed in Yahtzee memorabilia and called himself Austrian painter or something like that. That's too on the nose. I mean,
Well,
that's
he later said it was supposed to be satirical because if you're familiar with Warhammer, it's kind of a satirical black comedy sort of milieu for the game. But I take your point.
Then the
completely.
people behind that satirical milieu per game missed that satire completely, and
They did, yeah.
overreacted wildly using WEF talking points.
Yeah. And now so in other words, this statement isn't fresh, but the lies to the fans that these female custodians have always been part of the lore, that is fresh. That is the new fresh.
And that is something I noticed was absent from this. Note, there's absolutely no mea culpa or any kind of addressing the fact that they lied and gaslit the fans. Claiming that instead of admitting that, we retcon the lore, they're saying here, we're going to continue to diversify the cast of characters, art, and storytelling, which is basically them tacitly admitting, we're going to keep rewriting history. Sorry, but not sorry, is kind of what they're saying here.
Yeah, they haven't commented any further. They're just posting different stuff now, completely unrelated. So the fans can just stew about it.
Yeah, or better yet, just leave that whole
Just
stuff
leave,
behind.
They will not be missed. They will not be missed. Never forget.
It is very obviously not for them. I mean, if you're a fan of Warhammer, I'm very, very sorry. I know it's super addictive. I know you guys love it, but now is the time to understand that the people behind it, they don't love you the same way, and they don't love the property. So now keep your head canon, cherish what you already have, but it's time to move on. It says right here, you will not be missed. Yep. That's the final thing here. The very last thing, the very last concluding words on this whole statement is you will not be missed. That's how they end it. Gee, I mean, Alyssa Heinerscheid might as well have written this.
This was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Still true today. They haven't changed their stripes.
Okay, so.
Do they miss me yet?
How does one play the game? Is it like a D&D thing where you've got a individual who makes up a story based on existing lore and people take turns? How do you play this game?
It's, tabletop cards, miniatures.
And the cards have values and have values, and it's you're going to throw.
Every time I go into a comic shop, people are playing Warhammer.
No, never mind.
I just think it's a shame. I think Culture brought this up on a show I was on yesterday about this, that this just hurts the retailers. That's all this does, is hurt retailers, because now people, who are not going to be missed will take their shekels elsewhere, and or just, as was said, make their own miniatures. They don't need this they don't need to play this anymore. They probably already got everything they need to have fun without them.
I don't know. I'm looking at that $1,000 miniature.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, and this was the joke yesterday, and it was definitely the best joke of the day, the best meme of the day. 3D printers go brr.
Yeah,
because that's what's going to happen. And look, you don't need the retailers anymore. The retailers are a place for the gamers to hang out, maybe expand, buy some paints, do some stuff like that. Anybody that's associated with this game, you're just killing game shops, and you're killing some of the retail game shops that you're actually invested in. Games Workshop was, found its way into comic book stores, game stores, the middle, malls and kiosks and malls and things like that. And they're unneeded. The minute a 3D printer that was cheap enough to drop your own miniature out every hour or so became available, well, it takes forever to paint them. So just print the next one while you're painting the one that you're going to do. And then, just rinse and repeat. You'll have an army in no time, and you're not going to spend $1,000, assembling your faction army. It's just, you don't have to do that. And the uniqueness of it all obviously is making your whatever faction you enjoy, but making your army yours, and with your paint scheme, and just how detailed, battle worn they were going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, that's a huge part of the enjoyment. And then you were like, oh, I want to do an alternate paint scheme, right? And I don't want to repaint these because they all look good. So I'm going to go and buy X more. Well, now you just print them. There's no reason. I mean, you can get a resin printer for next to nothing now. The phone case printers can print a tall enough form factor to do most miniatures. And then you have, I have a dual head extruder right here, for an additive manufacturing process.
That sounds dirty.
Well, yeah, it is. But I mean, I can do, different colors in my printing, or I can use different materials. So you can get into it. You can get very much into doing it yourself. And then, the obvious reaction from the NPCs is, well, that's illegal. Well, I no longer want to support your garbage. So, I will take this and make my own thing, and I will live within the lore of the existing stuff. I'll live within the rules of the existing stuff. And, you do your thing, but you just destroyed a whole retail segment. Think about it. You won't have to spend money. You'll go into the shop. You'll use their space. We were talking about this yesterday. You'll use that shop that's set aside for these tables. You'll build, but sometimes you have terrain. Sometimes you build your own terrain, whatnot. But, you'll be using their space, their square footage, and, their profits, which will dwindle for nothing. They won't get anything out of these gamers now because they're not going to pay for it. So if I was a game shop owner at all, I would be railing against what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, Sergon has said this as well, the message we just showed on screen turns out that was from 4 years ago. Sergon the Inconspicuous says for £5. Unfortunately, the Warhammer is for everyone message is a relic from 2020. It is what led to Arch being blacklisted by Games Workshop. Yeah. Right, okay, well...
It's evergreen.
And that we all believe that it was for right now says everything about this company and corporations in general. Because if you told me that, oh, no, that's released right now, that's what I thought, it might as well have been. And indeed, it was from 2000. Well, it only goes to show that the copy and paste statements had something to it. Matthew Cooper says for $5, isn't it interesting that whenever you hear someone talk about inclusivity, they start by automatically excluding people? I think that's interesting. Well, that's only because you are observant and you see what's going on. I mean, in proper George Orwellian 1984 style doublespeak, inclusivity actually means exclusion. And that's what it means. It is including someone else by way of excluding you. That's literally what is going on here. So that is quite astute observation. Kelhun also says, just searched it, and this hit Reddit 3 years ago. Yeah, we appreciate the fact check on that. We do not want to pretend that this is a recent statement if it isn't. But notice how generic it was, because it just as well may have been. It was certainly true because they proved accurate. They did keep diversifying the storylines now by making the custodians retroactively all female. So this was very much in keeping with that message, wasn't it?
Exactly.
So
You have a
yeah.
very discerning audience, Andre. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course. We try to keep things accurate, and that way
Absolutely.
you attract an audience who also try to keep things accurate. So we do appreciate to be called out if we, however, unwittingly say something that is blatantly incorrect, although that
Right.
doesn't actually save Games Workshop in this particular case. Goen Shogi says, "You will not be missed." Famous last words. Yeah, it still may be, because those were their last words in 2016. Now, granted, the company has grown massively since 2016, but will that growth continue from this point onwards? That remains to be seen.
That reply that they gave, I wanted to mention this, Andre. That reply was from Monday or Sunday, where they said that the females have always been there. Yeah, 3.9 million views on that tweet.
Wow.
And that's a reply. It's not even on the main feed.
Well, yeah, but tell them why it's relevant, Chris. Because how many followers do they have?
Oh, that's a good question. They have 150,000 followers.
There you go.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, that's a ratio if there ever was one.
Yeah. And that's, of course, the tweet that is referring to on screen right now. Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. And yeah, this is what Arch was here on Monday and basically debunked quite thoroughly.
I'm sure they're all going to look like Eve from Stellar Blade.
Probably more like what's the woman from Star Wars Outlaws?
Oh yeah, her.
We're about to get into that while we still have all of the panel here, but let's do the remaining Warcraft super chats here in the meantime. Callum Lyle wonders, did you watch Space King yet? Yes, I actually did watch Space King. Thanks for the recommendation. And yeah, it looks intriguing.
Very fun.
But obviously, I'm not going to get any more into it in light of recent developments with this whole brand. Like when Archcast tells me that no, he really wants to see Games Workshop go under now. Of course I know that this is a fan production-ish, but yeah, that's I'm not going to devote as much attention to Warhammer, even the good parts of it, knowing that this is the state of the brand that is not known to deserve to be supported. Marcus Squintus says for $5, what I'm waiting for is Henry Cavill's, a well-known Lorehound, reaction to female custodians, especially since it's his favorite army.
What would happen if he's one of the guys that pitched that as an idea, was part of his show? How would you fans react to that if that ended up being the case?
Would he do that though?
Would he do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm asking.
I would call him the this year's John Cena, who apologized to China. Over the Taiwan.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That would be his John China moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. I would be curious what Cavill thinks about it. I'd like to hear what he has to say off the record, but hopefully he'll preserve his career and probably not speak out on this.
Yeah, and GRN Raptor says for $20, Henry Cavill has been pushing Warhammer 40k for several years, is a huge Adeptus Custodes fan, and was put in charge of the TV series. How angry do you think he's going to be about this, and how might it affect the show? Well, certainly not in any kind of good way. Script, let's run through this one more time since we're asked. How do you think that what's going on right now is going to affect the Amazon series, if at all? I mean, the decision makers at Amazon, they probably aren't too aware of the details of the property and its fans. I would imagine that they're probably looking more at the viewership numbers of Fallout right now and trying to see if those in any way can be expected to translate to Warhammer. That at least would be my speculation. Am I way wrong about that?
I think that's a reasonable speculation. Right now, Amazon is all over the place. So Jennifer Salke she's not involved in as many shows as you think. Like, she oversees a lot of them, but she only gives some her actual attention, and the other ones she kind of just leaves to the side. And I don't know what's going to happen with Warhammer at this point. I don't know if it's going to be one of the ones she wants to get, neck deep in and guide, or if she's just going to let them do their own thing. So that remains unseen. I just don't know yet until we start seeing more production notes or any sort of leaks out of what's going on with this show. It's really just up. It could be anyone's game, so to speak.
Yeah, indeed. And then the Form 581 says for $5. The Australian major kill said for the female custody thing to work if they are few and far between. Oh, for the female custodian to work, they have to be few and far between, I think is the intention here.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe like a Mulan situation where it was posing as a man, but it was a woman.
Well, then that gets your trans movement involved in your fans right there, doesn't it?
Funny you should mention that, because so does Callum Lyle. He says for $5 Australian, there are trans characters, but they're demons. Slaanesh, the dark god of excess, depravity, and Pride Month, who makes the things from Hellraiser look good. So I take it that Slaanesh presumably is a Warhammer deity.
I have no idea.
Sounds like a sorority to me.
No, we don't have Arch here today. And Glade Riven is of similar mind. Plot twist, all female custodes transed from male. Yeah, that would be very progressive of them.
Or maybe it's a male custodian who now identifies as a woman. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Callum Lyle says for $5 Australian, they have the sisterhood. They should be grateful they have them. But no, we can't have nice things anymore. Everyone has to be equally miserable. That indeed is true. The point here isn't so much that Warhammer is for everyone. As I said before, it's not so much that they want others to have what you have. It's that they want you not to have it. And this is a good way of achieving just that. Mr. Think says for £1.99, Warhammer bends the knee. Yeah, you are not wrong. And Chaos Sonic 1 says for $5, Games Workshop, Warhammer for everyone, fans response. So you have chosen bankruptcy. And at this point, honestly, that's not unfair. Harbinger 359 says for $5, they targeted custodes for a reason. The usuals have wanted canonized female space marines for ages. Custodes are SM+. Yeah, I'll take your word for it that makes sense for those who are familiar with the lore. Sadly, I am not one of them, but I trust that this makes sense.
It
The
does.
DCD Titan says for $10 Canadian, in Warhammer, the entire ship enters hell, and one person has to look out into it to navigate the ship. Also, I find it strange that people look for representation in warring groups of genocidal fascists. Yeah, well, as long as you
any
enjoy
party
it.
that they're not invited to is a party they want to be a part of.
Exactly. Script
right.
nailed it. Script
They,
nailed
they,
it.
they
Perfect.
actually are trying to, I mean, look, no matter what totalitarian group you associate the Space Marines and all of this with, you know, whether it be fascism or theocracy or whatnot, let's just say it's the worst part of the human soul that's being represented in this game. So it's a very dark look into, you know, a future I have no interest in. And that's entirely the point. There's a whole lore built around these things. So it blows my mind, you know, that you want to come into this particular group of fandom, which is massive, as we pointed out, and try to remake it the same way you tried to remake other things and failed. I mean, you're guaranteeing a loss in revenue immediately and a loss in value overall. You know, and you're guaranteeing that you become more beholden to the groups that are, you know, asking you to do this for cheaper money. The cheaper money isn't worth it in the long run. You end up surrendering yourself and eventually your entire enterprise. You can look out into the world right now and notice that, you know, we're watching it in the financial world as well as, you know, in the real world that touches other people. When you're watching increases in wages being direct correlation, as all these people were told, in, you know, restaurants being shut down, stores being shut down, the rise in crime contributing. When you go after all of these things and these, you know, kind of let's make everybody equal ideas, you know, equal outcome, excuse me, it's impossible to do without destroying most of what, you know, holds society together. So I could go on, but I'm going to stop. So,
You know what?
I have integrity, but it is purchasable.
well,
Yeah, there
no, it
you
isn't, because you let something drop in backstage earlier.
go.
I know that's not.
But culture, I want to develop that a little bit further,
Yeah.
because Chris, although not so much directed to Warhammer specifically, this is something that goes on in entertainment at large.
Mhm.
And you guys over at Bleeding Fool, you have been doing some research into the motivation behind all of this across all of pop culture. You recently did a great story that involved China, and I know that you also happen to be working on upcoming stories that involve BlackRock. Can you tell us a little bit based on your early reporting experience, what you think is going on here? Not just in Warhammer in general, but in entertainment at large. And remember, we're on YouTube, not just on Rumble. So
Right
yeah.
on. Okay.
Also,
I think that there's a lot of things coalescing that are undermining pop culture, at least Western pop culture overall. And one of the recent stories that we did was about this new documentary called Hollywood Takeover, which was produced by a fella that trying to remember his name, Chris Fenton, who made a lot of deals in Hollywood to have pictures made, but also had to work with DMG to get their movies released in the People's Republic of China. And part of making those deals, they would have to change certain aspects of the film. You might remember changes that were made to Iron Man 3. You may or may not be aware of changes that were made to Rian Johnson's movie Looper, where they replaced France. Every aspect that was mentioned about France was replaced with China. And I know there was a little dust up to Tom Cruise's credit when Top Gun Maverick, when we saw the early trailers and you saw a shot of him putting on his bomber jacket, the Taiwanese and Japanese flags had been removed from the jacket. But thankfully, in the released version of that film, at least as far as I know, I saw the movie here in the States, those flags were back. And one of the reasons that this is done ostensibly is so that Hollywood can reach a wider audience. But with that access comes certain stipulations. And one of the things that happen are movies in the West that get any funding from China can't paint China in a bad light, obviously. But what's interesting is some of the movies that they promote or that they support through us don't really align with their own rules in China, which are they've banned effeminate men, no sissy males in their music, movies, television shows, and so on. So what this documentary talks about is how China controls the film industry and also is controlling what we're seeing. You know, we mentioned John China earlier, who came out with a full-throated apology for calling Taiwan a country back when he was promoting Fast and Furious, and he spoke it in Chinese, which to me was such a gross display. But now you see John China dressed as a little girl in his latest movie. So it's the pitch is that China is undermining Western culture by their own influence in our movie industry.
I just want to know whether they allow a cake made in the shape of a penis. That's all I want to know.
Do you? I don't know. I'll look into that for you.
If you could, please.
I will. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. But you know, it's a documentary that Epic Times has put out. It's a little over an hour long, or Epic TV, Epic Times, all the same, and it gets into the nitty gritty about what's going on. And you see people like The Rock and Matt Damon and Robert Downey Jr. and others promoting their movies in China, and sort of emphasizes how much impact this has on our own culture. And I think that, in addition to what's going on with outfits like Vanguard and BlackRock pushing ESG on everyone, it's all coming together to really just sort of undermine our Western culture. What do you think?
I think that was true about 2.5 years ago. I think the rest of the world has kind of caught on to it, and they've been pushing back ever since. Right now, you can see Comcast and AT&T or Universal and Warner Brothers already rejecting a lot of the mandates that China has said with what you have to abide by if you want to distribute your film over here. Disney is desperate for anything, so they're always going to be in lockstep with them.
Yeah, Disney for sure. But I was surprised when Tom Cruise or when Paramount sort of went against the grain. I think that was the beginning of seeing some shifts. And it was reported on Monday that speaking of BlackRock, Larry Fink had basically he's the CEO of BlackRock. If you don't know Larry Fink, he had a meltdown during an earnings call because the company's been losing billions of dollars in contracts due to the woke ESG agenda. I think a lot of people are backing out of it. So he called it all lies and misinformation. But it is happening. We have reached an inflection point, I think, and I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah, because I vividly remember between 2015 and 2019, every single pitch was asked of how it would perform in China. Can you get a Chinese actor involved? Can you do all this stuff? And I was one of the few saying, I'm not selling to China. I'm selling to everywhere else in the world. I don't care if they have a bigger population than most countries. Like,
right.
You don't get much money from them. And what was actually quite fascinating is that Warner Brothers was really terrified when they couldn't land China as a distributor for Joker, and yet they still crossed $1 billion. And when they realized they can still make $1 billion without China, they said, well, then screw that country. and
China takes more of the proceeds, right? More of the
100%, yeah. But it's not necessarily about the profit. It's about the prestige of, oh, we have $1 billion movie at the box office. Because in Hollywood, the people at the top have so much money, they don't really care about money. They care about reputation. And if they don't have that's their new currency. And if they don't have reputation, then they have nothing. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars or billions of dollars they have. If they can't get into a room, or get into a restaurant or get into some sort of private club, they get really upset. You need the reputation to get you into that. It's not enough just to have all that money. And that has been shifting over the last 4 years very slowly, but been shifting away. I think when Tom Cruise did his thing, I think that was just more of a double down on what other areas of Hollywood was like. I think he saw that Warner Brothers was like, well, then screw you, we're still going to do it anyways. And Tom Cruise was like, you know what? They made $1 billion and said, gave China the cold shoulder. Why should I change my art for them? Like, what have they contributed since Xi Jinping and so took over, like, what, 20 years ago? Nothing. I mean, the previous administration over there was actually better because it was more trying to be expansive and not trying to steal IP and all that other stuff. So, 26, 30 years ago, China was okay, still communist, but they were kind of integrating and kind of phasing out. But then when Xi Jinping came in, he just rolled everything back. And that's how we got to this area. This is one of many chess pieces that got us to this area. And now that, the industry is pushing back and the rest of the world is kind of acknowledging and pushing back, they're the ones that are going to be left out to dry. And ideally, the rest of us will start to mend all the damage that was inflicted from that.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Culture said earlier that it's currently sort of a dark ages for culture. The old Chinese culture is very rich and beautiful, and they're just not creating anything like that anymore. And it's happening here too.
And if they are creating it, it's done in secret and no one will ever see it until that's allowed to be, revealed. And that's not going to happen with the current political leadership right now. And the majority of the people supporting it. I think that's the other part too. That's the tragedy, is a lot of the Chinese citizens support the current stuff publicly, even if they're just putting on a strong face. They're towing the line because they don't want to face the repercussions.
Well, the ebb and flow of the allowances made for levels of capitalism in China is, something that has been under an even more tightly held iron grip of late. And they've gotten to a situation where, the middle class is starting to become hopeless there. Here in the United States, they're systematically seeing fewer and fewer people in the middle class for a reason. And again, it speaks to the cultural things around us. If you can control every single thing that comes out in the media, and that's why the recapture of Twitter was so important, or I should say the freeing Twitter was important. All the other captured media now has to walk on eggshells because they're constantly being called out for the fabrications and outright lies and misleading statements and everything else in a way that they hadn't been for a while. And, as far as a social tool, especially going into a election cycle here in the United States, it's paramount that Twitter be, free as speech a platform as it can be. And the fact that look at what's happening. You can draw parallels to things about silencing your political opponent with what happened down in Brazil and the results of that, and a judge trying to take basically steps to, limit people's freedom, going forward across the board, including free speech. So it's amazing and interesting to me that Elon's willing to push back in such a way that they could lose Brazil entirely. And then, you look a little bit further down and you notice a little country that had a little man that came out and dressed up in cosplay and somehow won an election, and he immediately changed the fortunes of that country by eliminating the administrative state. Boy, are they terrified of that. It's one of the themes in that Civil War movie. So just very strange times indeed.
Indeed it is. Let's read a couple of super chats related to that before we move on to Star Wars Outlaws, because there's something to say about that. Packing Protons says for $5, I suggest Paul watch Canada's greatest output, Zap Rose Tower, for his birthday present. So yeah, there's a recommendation for you right there. I have no idea what that means. Yeah,
I don't know who Zach
evidently check it out.
I'm going to check it out.
Callum Lyle says for $5 Neon and Clownfish were right. D&D and Wizards of the Coast blocked me for calling the CEO's mistakes and facts. I hate the people of the LFM. Yes, Callum, I just have to be mindful of sound clips here. But I see where you are coming from. Chaos Sonic says for $1, heads up, the Romeo and Juliet play will take place in the apocalyptic sent the article to you on X. Well, thank you. We'll be checking that out in due course. And the Seaman wonders, are DEI and ESG loans the only options for these companies? Why would they sign up for this money with strings attached if there are other options? But that's the key question, though. If there are other options, those other options are gradually being reduced to numbers. They're more and more difficult to get a hold of as more and more of the big banks and institutions exclusively practice these loans. And the bigger the bank, the more ESG connections they have. The ones that they don't are typically smaller savings banks, and they aren't big enough to help out these big corporations. And they are typically the ones which are bought up by larger corporations who standardize with their own ESG funds. So it's not like you have a bunch of options and you can just choose to go a non-ESG route. If it were that simple, the corporate landscape wouldn't look the way that it does. So there is that. Then we have a question for you, Script Doctor. GW violating a key rule for all SF and F writing. Once the rules of your magic system are set, it is extremely unwise to break them. No?
Yeah, you don't want to really break them. You want to build on top of them, and you want to be very sure that the stuff you're building on top of doesn't contradict what has already been established. And the moment that you start to sort of break those, you'll find yourself coming up with convoluted ways to do so, which means that you're going to then confuse and lose your audience. Oh gosh, who is that? Brian Sanderson, or well, I can't remember his first name, but Sanderson has this great lecture on magic rules. He's got a one that there's a popular one on YouTube that's like 2 hours, but he's got one that's from like 12 years ago. That's a little bit longer, and he talks about how it's really important just to take your magic one step at a time, or any type of your rules one step at a time, because you never know. If you build out your entirety of your world before you start writing, and then you find yourself losing opportunities to tell creative stories because the rules of the world that you already established and are restrictive of that nature, and you can't be as creative, you then pigeonhole yourself. So it's best to just do one step at a time with your rules, and then as you develop more ideas, you then refine those rules with every subsequent story, and then that's how it keeps getting better and better, and that's how you get an expansive world. And same thing applies to magic or fantasy or anything else of that nature. You don't want to, and that just goes to reinforce, what Robert Meyer Burnett says, which is never put your world ahead of your characters or story. So, and that's what it is. Your world and exploration is a byproduct of the characters you're writing about exploring that world, and you explore it together. And that's the best thing you can do. And what Warhammer 40k here is doing is one part exploration and one part retconning, and they're doing it in a convoluted manner. So there you have it. Good example.
And Harbinger359 said for $5, they targeted custodes for a reason. The usuals have wanted canonized female space marines for ages. Custodes are SM+. Just to make sure we got that one. Packing Protons says for $20, the woke do that all the time. Rob Paulson basically told me, go embarrass yourself elsewhere, trying to bring up Trump is right topics, and basically tells fans to fudge up. Warhammer's triggers easily like he does, it seems. Now, Rob Paulson, I take it, is someone of some note in the Warhammer community. But it appears he's not doing them any favor. Neil has been a member for 22 months. Glad to have you here, Neil. And Dr. Longdonglet sent us a super sticker. So everyone, please smash that like. Cheesetarian says for $2, anyone who paints already has 10-year-old pile of minis.
I'm sure she's right.
Yeah, and Kelhun says for $5, absolutely was. Shortly after that, they brought the new female leaders into the Imperial Guard and in books, killing off male characters. Yeah, of course, the table will never be made bigger. They'll just remove people who are at it right now. Callum Lyle specifies that it's Warhammer, damn it, not Warcraft, which is good to know. And Rolf Hartmann says, Apart from 3D printers, there's a whole online industry for miniatures of a similar style as 40k, and some of them, like Raging Heroes, know how to sculpt female faces. Yeah, let's see how long that lasts. And then we got a member chat from Will Bloom, who says, I was an a-hole on X. I'm confused about they in Fallout Season 1. Is it in the singular or plural? How do you keep track? But hey, even in the apocalypse, you can be mindful of pronouns. Very progressive. Yes, there is a they them in Fallout. I don't know about the game, but there is in the series, in the first few episodes there that I've seen so far.
Very
Oh,
minor role.
very, very, very minor.
And
Culture,
it's
I know
not-
you have to be leaving, but any thoughts on this? This is why I
it's
brought it
not
up.
yeah it's not that explicit either. And again, I mean, I was looking for this kind of stuff, and it's not all that dissimilar to what you would find in the game. I felt like the lore was pretty well preserved within this world. I'm sure people are going to fight me on that, but I play at least one round of one of the Fallouts every single year, if not more often. Right now I've got a Fallout 4 going on my PS5, and you know, I enjoy it. I don't know necessarily that that character does any of that. If that character does do any of that, it doesn't seem you can't assume it. What's really strange is the amount of nudity that was there, but it wasn't for sake of, you know, exploiting it in a, you know, the normal way. In one of the episodes, topless females primarily, and you know, there is like overt references to sex, but none of that is actually on screen. There isn't. I don't recall anybody using any pronouns. If anybody else has seen it at length, and
Oh no,
reviewed
there's
it.
one scene where there's the steel, the Brotherhood of Steel. Remember
Yeah.
the individual who was supposed to be the squire first, but who
Right.
someone put a razor in the boot. This individual was a they them, and there's no doubt about this.
Yeah, but
because
no
I
one called
even
them that.
Yeah. And
That's what Casino's point is.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they didn't and they didn't seem to try to remove the there didn't seem to be an absence of, you know, there was no top surgery. You know, I'm going to say it that way.
And at the very end, they turned through a personal confession into a real jerk. Like they weren't afraid to make that character
Look bad.
look bad.
Huh.
So
Yeah,
I
okay.
went when that happened at the very end. I went, oh, okay, that's
I haven't
fair.
gotten that far yet. I've seen like the first 3-4 episodes by now, and I freaking love the series.
Look, I think the weakest character in it is Maximus from the Brotherhood of Steel.
Although
So-
the exchange with him and Thaddeus is pretty good. When
Titus?
Thaddeus discovers his master is that was nice writing. That was anticipatory writing, because you knew that at some point Maximus was going to have to give away the plot and actually reveal to Thaddeus. Now, and the fact that Maximus acted like a complete a-hole to him, all just piled on. That was very good. That really was anticipatory writing.
There was some human and some real human emotion expressed in that scene.
Yeah, that was good. I will never forgive Thaddeus for dumping dog meat into a Nuka-Cola refrigerator. That was really animal cruelty.
Yeah.
That was I was.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to say it. I'm not sure if I've already said this or publicly, but I'll say it here. Didn't the ghoul end up being your favorite hero?
Oh yeah, but that's also because they did a really good job with what he heard his wife talk about. Like you really the fact that they had went between present day, whatever you want to call it, and the post-apocalyptic day really humanized that character.
You have to be skilled to do that, because I'm not fond of that, but they did it very well. So I'm trying to get people to open their
And
eyes
the
on the
fact
show.
that he's an addict, he has to maintain.
Well, yeah. Again, you might be spoiling it for some people as
Sorry.
to why. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
We can talk more about that in detail after more of
Yeah.
us have seen the whole series.
Yeah.
But Culture, I know
Yeah.
that you
You
have
have
to
to
be
go.
leaving. I just
I
wanted
do.
to say thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. I hope a large percentage of the audience elects to subscribe to me today, because I am about
Get him up to
1,000 away.
25. Yeah, 25,000.
Wow.
About 1,000 away. Yeah,
Head
I'm
on
getting
over to
there.
Culture and support him.
Yeah. On that note, thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed talking about these things. They are rather depressing at times, but at least we can throw the light on the people that are doing the right thing. So thank you for having me.
Congratulations, you're about to surpass Mead if that's the case, man.
Oh, no.
go.
I'm 1,000 away. I would need everybody here to subscribe that isn't. So we'll see. But
Yeah,
you guys are phenomenal. Thank
Well, I
you.
ain't anywhere close to it either, so you'll probably beat me, man. Congratulations.
I don't know about that, Tom. You're a legend, sir. A legend. I got you.
Mutual admiration society here. I love it.
It's my hetero
Like me.
life mate. Gotta go.
take care.
Yeah, now that
All
I've seen
right.
the entire series, I know how the Brotherhood of Steel should have been set up in episode 1. Like,
Well,
I
tell me after I have seen the entire series, because I'm enjoying it.
I'm going to. I think I might write a "This is how to fix the Brotherhood of Steel" video.
There you go.
The only one I don't enjoy is Maximus, who's really annoying.
This fix has nothing to do with him. There's an overall thing that they didn't do that they surprised. I'm going to have to watch it again, because you got to have what is called Chekhov's smoking gun. And they missed an opportunity to educate us about how the Brotherhood of Steel worked. So when, Michael Rappaport, who in a hilarious turn shits all over Maximus, that should have been set up earlier. But we'll talk about it later.
It was cool. Moving on to the next topic here. Fakufino93 says for $4.99, I was watching a recent Joe Rogan episode and it had MMA legend Matt Serra. He even said this woke mindset / agenda kill Star Wars, I guess, was cool to see. He's a nerd. I'm going to gamble that you mean Star Wars here. And that actually does tie us pretty nicely into the next topic, because Star Wars Outlaws, with its new heroine, the female Harrison Ford, the one with a really attractive model, where the on-screen version looks like she's inbred and on fentanyl all at the same time, has gotten defense from the criticism. That's right. Someone has come to the defense of this game. Now, which authority in all fandom will speak in defense for Star Wars Outlaws? Well, the creator, director of Star Wars Outlaws, the game, explains why he describes Cave as a much more modern protagonist. So that then is the defense here. That the protagonist is so modern and we just don't get it. Let's see if we can find a good quote in this article. This write-up comes from the Park Place, but the source here is from Games Radar, where it was stated. Garrity, yes, previously told Edge magazine via Games Radar that his team intentionally tried to make the character more relatable by having her be a rookie. He explained that the team wanted her to be a little bit more relatable, so they made her more of a rookie, a petty thief who ends up in a situation that's much bigger than they ever expected. So yeah, they tried to make her relatable. And then the game's associate art director, Marte Jonkers, also confirmed the company and its employees spent a significant amount of time designing the character, especially her look. Jonkers shared, "We put a lot of care into her design and what she's wearing and how she looks to tell her story. She has a lot of elements in her design that tell a bit of her story. For example, she has a broken nose. She's been through a lot. You can see that she has scars and stuff. She also has a hairpin. I love that element because she uses that to lockpick doors, and you can use that from the beginning to do some thieving." The character's design has also been heavily criticized since it was first revealed back at the beginning, blah, blah, blah. And then they talk about the criticism here. And then again, we see a still of what the actual model looks like before it was incredibly uglified in order to make a more modern hero. So, Chris, do you feel better now with this explanation for why this new Star Wars hero seemingly looks inbred and on fentanyl?
I can't understand it at all. Jen Urso was an attractive character. Emily Clark, who I understand her character from the Solo movie appears in this movie. She was an attractive girl. Do you know any lead Star Wars characters that are this ugly and had scars or whatever the excuse is here? This just doesn't make any sense. And the hair, it's funny they mentioned the hair pick. I don't think I've seen a video game female look as bad as Kay Vess's hair does. What does she use the hairpin for exactly? Does she pin back her hair at some point? I hope so. She just looks terrible. I mean, she is a Han Solo replacement, a thief, alien companion, in all the same locations. We get a few flashes in the trailer to the Han Solo frozen in carbonite. And she's even referred to as the underworld's favorite new scoundrel. I don't know. It's too bad so far. Everything that's coming out so far is kind of turning me off. But I do love the premise of the game. So, I guess I'll save my judgment until it comes out.
I have to say that's mighty big of you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Script, you were saying.
Yeah, I look at this and I see them hiding a massive screw up, and that being is that they got probably the worst or cheapest digital scanning technology. Scan the actor. This is the model that came in, and they're like, okay, this is great. And then they built up the game from that. And then when they finally released these images, people were like, this is horrible. And then they start to realize, oh my God, yeah, it is horrible. We've already spent so much money. We can't go back and fix it. We're just going to have to double down and use every single argument at our disposal to defend this thing. So people don't realize that we screwed up by cheaping out on certain aspects when it comes to this model. I don't even think, has the model spoken? The woman who was scanned, has she said anything about this? So if she's not going to, that's smart on her. But yeah, I mean, they clearly didn't do that. The other theory that I have is maybe they originally did do it with a man in mind, and they built the model for that. And then they were told, no, you have to make the character female. And then they just rushed this together and compiled it. And that's the horrible result we've got. We've got this character that looks like one of the antagonists in the Warriors. And and they're just stuck with it because that's what it is. I think this is probably 1 part malice and 5 parts incompetence.
I think some people have wondered if there's just sort of some kind of jealousy or insecurity by the female game developers. This has become sort of a trend, the way a lot of these female protagonists appear on screen. I don't know why they can't just be normal looking. This doesn't even look normal to me.
You know what? The best way to get around this, have character customization.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think you're right.
Like that's what the Star Wars, the Old Republic game, the online MMO. You could customize your character. You could change the face. You could change the body shape. There was limited models, but you could change them. So you can make the woman look the way you want, or the guy look the way you want. That's the best thing ever. I know other games have way more extensive character creations where it goes right down to how many like eyebrow hairs they can have. Like it's just obscene, but
Yeah.
you get your full
Yeah.
customization and you completely circumvent all this, ideology, identity politics stuff, because it's not a pre-built model for you. It's you build your own model, your own avatar, and then it's inside the game and you just have at it.
Well, there's no excuse when you have an attractive model like Humberly Gonzalez. I think that's her name, Humberly or something like that. There's no
Something
excuse
like
not to
that.
make it like her. Yeah, I mean, she's a pretty girl, and they could have just duplicated how she looks. It's not that hard. I do like where this is set, though. I mean, I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I kind of like the idea of it being in that time period between Empire and Return of the Jedi, and kind of seeing some of those things. When I first found out that the topic today was some of the controversy, I thought the controversy was going to be that you had to pay even more money to play the Jabba the Hutt mission that was coming out.
Oh, you can still do that. I mean, they might still do that. We don't know that they won't.
Well, no, you have to pay $110 or $115 for that special privilege. You have to do the gold edition or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, again, they might still do that. That's too early to rule out, isn't it?
Yeah,
we only know so much about the game so far. We know who the lead is, and of course, it was another woman, and a very safe woman that is not going to make anyone feel threatened by being too attractive, like the actual model, because the land whales may object to that. So very much in line with the Xbox DEI requirements, variations of which pretty much anyone else in the industry will also be following. Paul, any thoughts on this before we?
Well, my
before we start
biggest
rounding out?
concern is that this is going to be the same Ubisoft game engine they've used for the last 30 years and not going to change anything. It's just going to be a cut and paste game. Like I'm tired of that. It was fun for a while, but I don't think they've made a single change to their game engine in forever. So it's just the same thing.
Well, this is massive doing this. It's an open world game. I think it's Disney's first Star Wars.
But it looks like
game.
aren't they using Ubisoft's engine on this?
I'm sure they are. It's just going to be a 3-act game.
Yeah.
Like most of Ubisoft stuff. I got that. But
anyway,
I don't know.
It does look good in places, but what is it? There's a couple of dialogue bits right at the beginning that I went, really? Okay. When she's running out of in the trailer where she's running out of the
cantina,
and I thought, wow, this is really stupid writing. I mean, the problem is that you could have a character with a journey, but I don't know. There's some good elements to it, but oh no, the bad guys are in the cantina. Oh no, they're shooting at her and they're missing. Oh fuck, really? Yeah. Oh, and then gets on the scooter and goes away. You want a really good scooter scene? Watch episode 2 of the Korean show Parasite the Grey. Holy smokes. If you want a fantastic car and scooter chase, it's better than what's in the trailer to this video game.
Recommendations. Yeah, that's good.
Oh man, it's right up there with just some fantastic action sequences. So I don't know. I'm with you in that. Let's wait till the game comes out and then shit on it.
Yeah, I'm with that. It looks as good as Rian Johnson's movie trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi looked. I mean, we all know how that turned out. It looks like Poker Face is the protagonist, the same from his television show, which was actually a pretty good show, Poker Face. So this has got a Rian Johnson vibe to it, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. They still have time to make some changes. This thing doesn't come out until the end of August, I guess. So they've got another 4 months they can make some changes. If
Well,
they're
they
so
should just take the Sonic the Hedgehog crew and just turn her into Sonic the Hedgehog. Then I'd buy it.
I would
That
play
actually would be an improvement, probably.
that. I
Yeah.
would play that. Yeah.
Script. Any thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I mean, to Paul's point, it's Ubisoft. They suck. I mean, I mean, it's like if I were to choose between Ubisoft and EA, I'd probably go EA because at least they try some other stuff, even though you both kind of get a lousy taste in your mouth afterwards. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. If I wanted to play a game in this time period, especially for Star Wars, I'd just play Shadows of the Empire on, what is it, N64?
Yeah, there are a lot of games that are really great in this period of time. I'm curious, as ugly as this character is, I mentioned that the character Lady Kira from Solo, that played by Emilia Clarke, that character is in this game. I found that out. So I guess we'll have to see what that character looks like if she's also as homely looking as the protagonist.
If that's the case, then you've got two possible options. Number one, the renderers are female and insecure, or number two, they use the worst scanning technology for their talent ever, and they just don't want to admit that they cheaped out.
Well, but the characters all look so good. I mean, really, as you're watching the game trailers, all the Star Wars aliens and whatnot, I mean, it just looks fantastic. It really looks good. Of course,
they do a good job of faces. I mean, take a look at Far Cry 6. Esposito looks like exactly like Esposito. So you're telling me they couldn't have done a good job, like an exact duplicate of her? I mean, look at Far Cry 6.
Yeah, I think it's jealousy and insecurity. I really do. I mean, I'm convinced. So we'll see when we see the Lady Kira person. But you're right. I guess they could also play that off as that's just bad scanning technology.
And it is true. Far Cry 6 is a very good game. So they can make good games.
Yeah. Let's see what the audience have to say. Tomok says for $20, with Star Wars Outlaws being a Ubisoft game, what do you think the killer versus filler percentage will be? I think we will be lucky if killer is even at 20%. Script, you had thoughts on that already, that you preferred this, or you said you even preferred EA to this. So what would you say? More or less than 20?
Given some of the gameplay trailer that I just saw here, it looks like you're going to be watching more of a movie than playing a game, in my opinion. So there you are.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on how badly Ubisoft is going to botch it?
Yeah, it's really hard. I've seen 2 trailers now, and it's almost you can kind of see the gameplay portions, but they're rare. Most everything it looks like they're showing in the trailers are all cutscenes. Story. Yeah.
Well, they're famous,
and they look great.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And the DCV Titan says for $2 Canadian. So picking digital locks with a hairpin. Yeah, that seems about right. And High Dragon Star became a new member. Welcome. We are glad to have you. We have a few more super chats, but before we get to them, we are unfortunately losing Chris here. So I just want to say thank you one more time for joining today. And of course, people can find you over at Bleeding Fool, which is linked in the description. Is there anything else that you would like to plug while you're in here?
I definitely want whatever Chato's got over here. I like this. It's very festive. It's birthday suitable.
You want festive? Get ready for that.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Just anyone who's interested can come over to bleedingfool.com. We basically are the antithesis of what you get at bleedingcool.com. It's opinionated commentary, film, TV, comics, geek culture. A lot of sarcasm and spelling errors, but we do come over from the right side of culture, much more in line. That's kind of how we found Midnight's Edge, and a lot of other similar channels. I'm doing some independent publishing on the side with a guy named Mike Barron, who some of you may know. We just launched a new graphic novel called Nexus Scourge. And you can find out a little bit about that on my personal Twitter at Chris Brawley, yeah. And you can find out more about that book at baroncomics.com. So I appreciate you guys having me on. And I always like hanging out with people that are smarter than me. What's that?
Well, nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Oh, nice meeting you too. Yeah, guys, I had a lot of fun. Tom, I appreciate it. Script Doctor, enjoyed hanging out with you today. And Andre, same, man. I love you
Always
guys.
a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And yeah, we have a few more super chats here. Callum Lyle says, you can talk about Space King. It has no ties to Games Workshop. I'll do that next time we have Arch here, because he's able to.
I actually watched a few minutes of it to check it out. It kind of has like a Rick and Morty kind of vibe from what I've seen.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It's the cartoon with the big teeth, guys in suits, and they get blown up by the large-breasted purple woman.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, no, I need to. It's very well made. It's the kind of fan production that I really enjoy, but I do need Arch to tell me the heck I was really watching. And then we got a couple of questions from ActionCom. He sent this just as Cultured was leaving, so I regret not getting this on time. But ActionCom said, Culture and panel, have you seen HBO's The Second Civil War, a comedy starring Dennis Leary, James Earl Jones, and Jeff Bridges? And he also followed that up with one for you, Paul. Paul, I would love to see your opinion of HBO's The Second Civil War. So now you got like another prompt here. A review would need a comedian's touch. Did it predict the future, or is it a product of the 1990s thinking? Available on YouTube. I have not seen this before.
Oh, the Second Civil War is available on YouTube?
Oh, that's what he's saying. So I guess.
But I mean, HBO was such a bugger because I was getting HBO content off of Crave, and now that's all gone. I mean, it's just a mess. I'm not going to subscribe to another 8 different services. So yes, I'm going to look up The Second Civil War. I will look it up now.
All right, perfect. And Script, have you heard about it?
Oh God, I probably saw it when I was growing up, and we had HBO in our home. No, I do remember James Earl Jones being in some sort of like comedy thing that was more recent. I'll have to revisit it. So
there it is. Bo Bridges, Phil Hartman, The Second Civil War, full movie available on. Okay, there we go.
Oh, full moon. Oh, you got me sold right away just there. Chaos Sonic says for $5, his defense is what I call the sweet baby defense, where you BS so hard to try to appeal to modern audiences that you just failed so hard. Yeah, there's been a lot of that. And Doll Life Dan says for $10, Script's point of why not custom character has already been addressed. Remember when SBI leader said that character customization keeps gamers from having the experience they want the gamers to have?
Well, that's a lie. That's the exact opposite of what it is.
And that's a good point. Why couldn't the lead character in Star Wars Outlaw be a character created individual? Why couldn't it be?
Yeah. All the engines and models for that exist. It's just pay your license, put it in there, and then start hiring a whole bunch of people for
Ubisoft. I'm trying to remember Assassin's Creed, all their stuff. They didn't have character creation as part of the few games of theirs I've played. There was no character creation. They're like you play movies. They're like Uncharted, but worse.
Yeah. I can think of right now. So you have City of Heroes has huge character customization way back. That's like 2004 game. And then a bunch of people that left that game went on to Champions Online, which has even more character customization.
Fallout New Vegas has got a phenomenal characterization engine.
There you go. So yeah, why not just have that in there? You don't have to worry about any
Any of that shit.
You get the appearance you want. If you want to dress you have a Star Wars. I mean, here's the thing: in Star Wars, the Old Republic online game, you can craft or find, or if you subscribe to their premium thing with the coins and stuff, you can buy costumes and alter your character to make them look like Han Solo.
I've got an idea. If you pick an elderly white character, you get minus points.
So yeah, it's a harder game to play.
Then it's a harder game to play.
Yeah.
Difficulty setting is the whiter you are, the harder the game, the difficulty setting.
That's it. So you have built-in affirmative action into the game.
And on that note, Dark Hero fan said for $2, can we get a skin to play as Chato in Outlaws? I may have tried that.
See, that would be good. Hey, you kids over there, get back here right now. I'm just give me some time to get there. Hold on. Like Barnaby Jones when he was playing a cop on that TV. When who played Barnaby Jones? The guy from Beverly Hillbillies.
Judd Clampett. I can't think of his name now.
Yeah. Buddy Ebsen.
Buddy Ebsen, that's it. Yeah.
Buddy Ebsen, and they always had to have the car going at only 5 miles per hour so he could like catch up to the door and that was pretty funny. Anyways, yeah. No, I would love to play myself in Outlaws. That would be fun.
That would be pretty sweet. And well, ooh. I wouldn't like to play as me, but I'd like to play as Paul. That would be pretty sweet. Chaos Sonic 1 says for $5. Now I'm reminded.
Oh no!
Live action movie is going to suck. Why? Because the Rick and Morty writers are writing it, so prepare for shit.
Well, it's actually Dan Harmon who is better than the rest of the Rick and Morty writers. So that's one thing you have to remember.
He should be able to do it.
Yeah, it's not the staff writers, because that's what Marvel's been hiring, the staff writers of Rick and Morty. Dan Harmon is the showrunner. He's actually quite a good writer on his own. So it's a mixed bag here. But I always thought, based on the premise, isn't One Punch Man a comedy anyway?
Yeah, it is. It is a parody of anime. It is hilarious. Even Ramona, my wife, loved the first season-ish. Then she got tired of it. But yeah, it is hilarious. It's one of the best animes out there, and they do the comedy very, very, very well. Why we need a live action version of it, I don't know, but I don't know what Dan Harmon's going to add. All the dialogue is in the anime. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Remember, Dan Harmon did Community. That show is really, really good. Rick and Morty started strong, and then other writers came in to copy. It's basically a copy of a copy of trying to do Dan Harmon's style in Rick and Morty, and that's why
Dan Harmon is smart enough to do One Punch Man.
Yeah,
I will say that.
Yeah, and then we got one I can't bring up on screen, but Hitchhiker 42 sent £2 with sending the best wishes to Chris Gore. We love Chris Gore, and we send him best wishes as well, and look forward to seeing him come back here eventually. And then we got €5 from Umar Al-Begawi, who says, regarding Warhammer 40k retcon, isn't it more about trying to cash in on the female fans?
How many of them are there?
Women now have similar hobbies and earn high wages. Yeah, okay, so how many of the established, proven fans do they intend to shed to win over a female fan base that, if history is anything to go by, isn't going to come anyway?
I think they did a survey of Warhammer users, and it was 85% male. I think it was.
Henry Cavill's going to bring more women in than anything else.
Perhaps. But if there's no Tetris blocks coming down that they can decode, then they're not going to be interested. Women don't like this kind of game. This is just not that. This is just not their bag.
I think that the women that like this kind of game, they're already welcome. Yeah. There's no barrier to entry there whatsoever. So the only thing that you can do to try to appeal even more to women than those who are already there is to drive away the existing fans, including the women, because this is what always happens, and without exception. Just look at the Star Wars fan base or the Marvel fan base, hell, even the He-Man fan base, if you go way back in time. There was similar percentage of female fans in all of those, actually even higher when it came to Marvel than that. And the moment they tried to cater specifically to women, then the established fan base, they all left, men and women alike. And the few women that they were able to get in extra did not offset the ones that were lost, not even the women that were lost.
The Pokemon, the digital handheld games, very big with women. The tabletop card version of it, not. Because Pokemon is also a tabletop game.
Yeah. And Mr. Chato, how long do you have before you?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Okay, then I think we'll
Ish.
do that Rumble exclusive some other day, because I was thinking if you had 10 minutes, we might have done that, but we'll do that some other day then. Well, let's see if we have anything left here. We do have one more point from Dull Life Dan, who clarifies for $5. My point was character customization allows non-ESG characters, which is why SBI spoke against it. Yeah, this was the point that he was made. The whole point with character customization is that then you can customize your own experience. But the likes of SBI, they don't want you to customize the experience. They want you to have their experience.
Well, then they would lose checkbox. They'll have some gigantic computerized screen that will tally up what character everyone has picked over time, and they will lose ESG points if we have picked too many of the wrong characters.
Which is ironic, because isn't ESG supposed to support, hey, be yourself, be your true self, get your true self, go do your things that makes you identify however you want, because that's great. Character
only if you are fat, dumpy, ugly, and non-white.
So that's DEI. I mean, the ESG is a set of protocols for a company to be many things, ecologically more stable or cognizant. Like DEI is a very tiny component of what ESG requires of a company.
Yes, of ESG.
Pardon me?
It's the S of ESG.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many more aspects to a large trillion-dollar corporation that ESG, wants you to become a better global steward.
Yeah, just not for the people. And as Ghost points out, DEI is now the bridge. Yeah, indeed. And that's very bad news for you, because it doesn't benefit you in the slightest. It benefits someone, but it sure doesn't benefit you.
It's the bridge to failure. That's what it is. The bridge to failure. Get out ahead of it now.
Like it.
Yeah. Wrong is wrong also has a very good definition of what a bridge is right there. And certainly for some of the companies, it's going to be just that. The Scientology also have like their own bridge, which I feel is an apt description there, because that's a bridge to nowhere. Oh, yeah. Well, read my mind. That's exactly what I was thinking. He said that just as I was saying it. So yes, with that we are actually fully caught up.
Nice.
So with that, Mr. Chato, again, belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's,
what should people check out?
I should have in at least a couple of hours the latest Appalling News episode, which features a group of, let's say, left-wing Americans that I've got video of a group of Americans who, when they heard about Iran launching 100 missiles at Israel, stood up and cheered. So that's a fun story.
Yeah.
And then there's the ongoing J.K. Rowling. She's being accused of being a Holocaust denier.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah, that's hilarious because
That's,
she basically said that the 8 trans people in Germany was not systemic Nazi murdering, and now she's being accused of being a Holocaust denier for.
So that's how that happened,
Correct.
pointing out that it takes more than 8 individuals
Yes.
for something to be systemic. And we are now, I have to be careful with the word here because they can still go and do something with the stream, but denying historical facts. Let's just put it this way.
Well,
That's
they're
reaching.
retconning a group of people into a horrific event and trying to take not credit for it, but trying to extract
Extract
sympathy.
victimhood points.
They're trying to extract victim points for having been included in this horrific event. And my headline is what is it? Holocaust deniers are now accusing J.K. Rowling of denying the Holocaust.
There's another. Can I just point out another facet of that, which which I'm sure you may have seen, but just to enunciate it, because not only are they trying to hand some victim points to one group, in so doing, they're taking victim points away from the other group that first and foremost should be associated with the Holocaust, because now you're not so special anymore. It wasn't just you, it was other people of higher victimhood status.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into numbers in terms of our numbers were bigger than your numbers. I mean,
no, but you see what I'm saying, I'm getting at, right? That's a really insidious part here.
Well, it's so funny because they also have a picture of the Sex Institute in Berlin, and if you zoom in on the picture at the bottom, they're all porn magazines. You're going, wow, okay, really? Thank you for. No one's pointed that out. It's quite hilarious. It's just, again, when you go in already with your predetermined hate for any subject, I don't care what it is. We call it bias, but I think it's even beyond bias, because someone with some bias, maybe I have this notion that they will accept some alternative points of view, but people go in with a hate and they are not prepared to have any kind of discussion at all. I mean, it's quite, that's what Twitter is, right? So people who hate J.K. Rowling will put aside their Holocaust denial for one brief moment to call her a Holocaust denier. That to me is the joke.
Yeah. Good stuff. So everyone go check that out.
Yes, that'll be up later on today. So we'll see how funny I can make it.
I look forward to it, but in the worst way possible. That's my drift. So
I got you out of bed.
To say hi, Bat Tom. We need you, Bat Tom.
You're not a kid.
Me?
What is this?
Oh no,
you're supposed to be saying happy birthday to kids. What is going on here? This guy is older than sin. Are you God?
I believe he's 90.
I was going to say 90. He looks like he's as old as Father Time. I mean, come on.
Are you going to be singing to me, Bat Tom?
Of course.
Oh,
that's what I get paid for.
Oh no, yes, I did. I did pay for
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, old man. Happy birthday to you. How many is that now? 166?
It's actually 70.
Balloons. Are you the Joker?
I'm the Joker. See.
That's it.
I've just figured out 2 of the hand controls. So 2 of these is the confetti, and just 1 of these is the balloon.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you very much, Bat Tom. I really appreciate it. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, here's another nice surprise. Hemorrhoid Hubs says for $2 Australian $29. I love Appalling News, my new favorite news show.
Thank you very much, Hemorrhoid Hurts. Thank you very much, Hemorrhoid Hats. And my terrible Australian accents. I will see you. I'm rushing off to manage my business and also try to finish off the video.
Aren't we? I was gonna say, yeah. So
yep, it's work. I'm working on it. I should be recording it tomorrow, hopefully.
Awesome. And I think we're closing out anyway, aren't we, Andre?
We are closing out.
Okay, so I'm going to head off early. Bye-bye,
All
everyone.
right. Take care, Paul.
Bye, Paul.
Take care. Script,
Bye, Script.
what you got coming? What that you want to plug? Thanks for being here today, first and foremost.
Well, last week I lost my voice, so I was really upset. But got it back now. And just in time because I got it back in time for last week's Scripts on Saturday show, which we reviewed a really good comedy about parents chaperoning their nightmare children. And this week we have apparently another comedy that I think is Picasso related. So that's this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm kind of working away here in the background between new pitches, waiting for finding out if the script that me and my writing team from last month is going to go to pilot or not. And of course, doing the consults with the AI stuff. So my time is split, but I'm always happy to try and make some and hang out with you guys during the day. So it's always a lot of fun. It's a nice respite from all the other nonsense I deal with outside of it. So yeah, follow me on Twitter and YouTube for those types of content, a little bit outside of the normal pop culture news and just talking about stuff as it pertains to what could be around the corner when it comes to film and television. So yeah, check that out.
I saw this weekend Script because you were one of the people that recommended it. Was that the Marky Mark movie, The Family Plan?
Yeah,
that was pretty fun.
It's a good movie.
Few issues I had with it, but nothing real major. Like there's a couple characters I felt like they set up for no good reason, and then they just didn't pay off later because the rest of the movie had so many good setups and payoffs that it was just kind of felt like, why'd you spend so much time on those two characters and didn't do anything with them? But okay. Otherwise, I thought it was a lot of fun. It's kind of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with a little bit of Long Kiss Goodnight meets National Lampoon's Vacation, basically. It's kind of like
it's a hodgepodge of stuff. And the thing is, like, the twists that they do have are properly set up, so they don't feel like it's a bait and switch. I mean, it's an app. It was Skydance. It was done on Apple. Apple doesn't promote their stuff, even though they got a bunch of really cool things going on over there. So yeah, check that out. It's people should, and the screenwriter did a pretty solid job with it, considering the fact that he's he's got few credits, but he's in a position where he'd be easily to manipulate, and he was very fortunate that no one did, so that he could tell this type of story.
But yeah, I can recommend it as a good family comedy.
Yep.
And High Dragon Star comes in towards the very end here, saying for $5, Warhammer 40k, they're trying to balance the fan base, increase the female percentage who don't play war games by dropping the males. ESG. Well, it's that ideology. Yes, it is forcing behavior. That is exactly what it is. And then, of course, one can debate exactly which part of it, but it comes from that whole ideological mix between religion and corporations. Yes, that's where it's coming from.
The best example I can remember, and I know you kind of referred to this earlier, is the whole She-Ra He-Man thing, right? Like, they thought, because they noticed that girls liked He-Man too, right? So they're like, well, we need to capitalize on that. So they started the She-Ra line. Well, the Barbie crew got word of that, and they're like, oh, no, you can't make a girl's toy without us involved. And as soon as they got involved, that's when shit went to hell.
Yeah.
Because they made an incompatible toy, and they basically just made He-Man pink.
Yeah.
And all that did was piss off the fans.
They should have learned the practical lessons from that. But of course, that was driven.
Did they gain some female fans? Maybe, but what was it? Maybe a small percentage you shaved off the My Little Pony crew?
It was nothing compared to what they lost. Like
compared to what they lost.
For every new She-Ra fan they gained, they lost 10 existing female He-Man fans and 100 existing or 1,000 existing boy He-Man fans. So it didn't work out. But again, that wasn't ESG. That was just a misguided understanding of the market.
Putting that mentality into this, though, like that's where we've said for years.
It's the mentality. It's failure to learn from history.
And I get it. Even if it comes from a place of trying to make it a balanced fan base, I mean, that's how they kind of manipulate people into trying to do this shit, because you think you're doing the right thing, and they use terms like right side of history and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Of course, if you right now have 90% male fan base and 10% female, and then you make sure that of that entire mix, 40% of those 90% of men drop out, then you're left, well, the math is slightly off here, but you catch the point, then you're left with 50-50 because the majority of men leaves. You have now rebalanced the audience. That's kind of what's going on here. And we did get one more. Glade Riven has breaking news. Wizards of the Coast CEO resigns. Yeah, we did see this, but I haven't had time to...
There's not much to it. It just says...
this, so I don't know any implications or anything like that just yet.
Didn't specify a reason, just that they resigned.
More to come when we know more about it. As it is right now, we have.
I don't have a
nothing to
subscription
go
either,
on
so
here.
I can't go on
Yeah.
here.
So more information to come on that as we know it. For right now, though, let's see. Yeah, then we are fully caught up.
Yep.
So with that, everyone, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
I fucking knew it!
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.